all of everybody who is at all of these wonderful polling places. We thank you all across the city. We thank you from our bottom of our heart. I must say that on election day, I've many years of voting, and I've been voting for over 40 years plus. On election day, I've never seen this low amount of people coming out. What I'm seeing is people bringing stacks of ballots already filled out, putting them into the ballot box, letting me know that people did early voting last week. People have mailed off their ballots. Tracking the information that I received, and according to the Office of Election, the higher numbers across the country come from most people who did early voting or mail-in than they ever did in 2016. So folks are not waiting for the day of the election to get out. Folks have already voted, and they have done, and they have cast their ballot, and I believe change is in the midst.
And we love
and
that.
I said this earlier, no matter who wins, and this is not mine, it belongs to Abraham Lincoln, who said it in 1861, no matter who wins, stay calm. We are not enemies, we are friends.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
So thank you, everybody.
You so much. The goddess of DC herself, Rayceen Pendarvis.
All right, I'm here to support McKinley Tech, and then I'm off to Union 1 and Union Market. All right, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Rayceen. And we have another Ray here on the line. I want to chat with RaeMonet a bit. You have also switched locations from, because we just chatted about an hour ago. Now, where are you right now, RaeMonet?
Oh, right now I'm out at Cedar Heights Community Center. We're out here in Maryland again, seeing very, very low turnout. You guys can see the parking lot behind me, tons of empty spaces, okay? I have barely seen maybe 30 people go into the building since I've been here, and that's been, for about 30 minutes. So person a minute. Okay, well, that's not too bad. Now, I do want to say as well, there's a big difference here from FedEx Field, whereas, like law enforcement, told me like, hey, I have to stay back. We can't interfere with anyone. I wasn't allowed to talk to anyone because, we don't want to worry about voter tampering or anything like that. So I do want to point out that has been going on in some of the smaller community centers as well. I did have a chance as well to stop by Pepper Mill Community Center. Same thing there. But I was allowed access in this tiny corner, so you guys can see at least a bit of the building behind me. And again, just the low turnout here. So as Rayceen said, many people have been voting from home, doing their mail-in ballots, also doing that early voting as well. And again, reporting that same experience kind of in and out within 15 or 20 minutes.
Wow. And this is your second polling location for the day, and it's basically the same as the first, you would say.
Yeah, it is. I mean, again, people are having a great day.
Yes.
Looking folks are planning picnics and going to the park and enjoying the slides and things. But, again, just not many people that are out voting.
I see. All right. Bria, how are you and where are you?
Hi, Krylios. Okay, so you can see my face. Hi, I am at the Entertainment and Sports Center in Anacostia. Well, no, I guess it's not Anacostia. Who knows? We'll call it St. Elizabeth. They're changing things all the time here. But I'm in Ward 8. Let's just say that.
Awesome. And what's it like down at that polling station?
Things go from being pretty calm to being pretty energetic. There's a lot of different people who have come in. I mean, I don't know if you can see, there's not much of a crowd or a line. Everybody's kind of just chilling and keeping up morale. There are big speakers that'll come through on trucks with music. Fred Hill, I don't know if anybody knows about Fred Hill in Ward 8. He has come out with an original go-go song for his campaign. So that has been blaring all up and down the streets. It's been a good time.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Bria. And Jasmine is there, and Jasmine also has a special guest next to her. Is that Matt?
Yeah, that's me.
Hey, Jasmine. Hey, Matt. How are you guys?
Krylios, we're good. We're just hanging out outside of the Arlington Central Library. What's really cool is we have an official ballot drop box right behind us. We've seen quite a few people dropping off their ballots just right in the drop box. So people are still, bringing their ballots to the polls, dropping them off. not too big of a line, but we are seeing a little bit of traffic. So I think as people start to get off work, we'll start to see it pick up a bit.
And we look like official paparazzi right behind us. People driving up in the parking lot. They're like, "Whoa, they look official." Yeah.
Very official, very official. We love it. We love it. You know, that's really interesting to me that, you know, the ballot box is there. So you have people coming to do voting in person, but also dropping their ballots off in the ballot box. I see. And since you've been there, which would you say has been used more, the ballot box or going to vote in person?
I would say the box.
I see.
Which, I mean, with COVID, we got a deadly pathogen going around. So
yes,
if you don't have to go inside and breathe on or get breathed on, it's probably the best deal.
I agree. I see. Well, that's why we've been seeing shorter lines today, and, you know, a record turnout when it comes to early voting and mail-in ballots. Definitely. Natalie. Oh, thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Matt. Stay right here with us. Natalie, how are you and where are you?
I am at Absolute Tie right now across the street from the Capital One Center. There were people going in and out very quickly. People are busy today, wanting to get their votes in. And so I decided that what better way to spend the rest of the afternoon than having some drinks and food with my friend Robert here.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's one of those days where we really need to come together and to, you know, minimize anxiety and have opportunities to look at, you know, appreciate the things that we enjoy. And so we're out here having some good food, having some good drinks, and, you know, watching the people go by, just, you know, living their best lives.
Tell me, what's the difference between today and the first Tuesday in 2016?
Listen,
for you.
You know what? That day was, I voted that day. This year I voted early. I was like, my vote will count. I will get that in that day. I was like, there is no way in the world that this United States is going to disappoint me. You know, I took what we do for granted, and I took there's so many differences. But today I was like, listen, I'm going to focus on dealing with my anxiety, focus on dealing with the fact that, you know, there's still so much love in this world. There's still so many opportunities to get together. And so regardless of what happens, we still always have the capacity to fight for what's right. So, you know, I'm not thinking of this as who wins or who loses, but the fact that I am breathing, I am healthy, I am good, and that I get to exercise my right to vote and help other people also exercise their right to vote. And hopefully people do the right thing.
Hopefully. Thank you so much, Natalie. Thank you. And speaking of, you know, expressing one's right to vote and being able to do that, we have John Riley here from Metro Weekly. And I want to chat with you a bit, John. And I'll pose a question to you, my first one, very similar to the last one I just posed to Natalie. What's the coverage been like at Metro Weekly? What's the difference in coverage for this election between 2016 and this election cycle? Talk to me about that.
Well, I think we definitely had a difference. In 2016, we were doing coverage, but I think because we got lulled into this false sense of security about, oh, it seems to be a done deal. This is a boring election. People aren't enthusiastic. And you saw that from turnout. Like, it wasn't high turnout in really any state. And there were, you know, and so I think we kind of took that for granted, even though we were doing the on the ground reporting and whatnot. This year, particularly because we have an administration that has been so hyper, where you just have to be hyper vigilant with what's going on with the LGBT community, which is our primary audience. Yeah. I think we were going, for instance, a lot of our coverage has actually not been so much elections. Yes, we've done the Ward 2 race. We've talked about the at-large. We've talked about the ANC, the number of gay and lesbian and transgender ANC people running. But the big thing was the courts. Amy Coney Barrett getting on that Supreme Court, that was a big thing. And literally tomorrow, there will be a case dealing with foster care. So does a foster care agency have a right to take your tax dollars, right? Your tax dollars and say, no, I'm going to turn away that lesbian couple down the street, right? I'm going to say, no, you transgender person, you have no right to be a foster parent, even if you are the most qualified person in the room, right? That is at risk, that, because we have a bunch of people, in the last few years that have not weighed in on a case like that. Go back to Gorsuch, even, who was back in 2017 or 2018. Kavanaugh, they've never ruled at the high level on that court. So a lot of our coverage has been looking at, well, if so-and-so happens, if so-and-so wins, if this happens this way, what is the effect on you and what's the effect on your families, right? And I think that's the way the coverage has changed.
Yeah, I like that. And that's so important. And this year, Metro Weekly has endorsed one of the candidates. Tell me about that. And have you guys ever endorsed anyone before? And do you foresee this now being, a regular part of what Metro Weekly does when it comes to the election cycle?
So we did endorse Hillary 4 years ago. And I think largely because I think we recognized, particularly as journalists, and I think earlier, before even other journalists did, that this was not going to be an administration that was going to be a fan of the First Amendment, right? They are fans of the First Amendment insofar as you praise them. And the minute that you critique them, you are the enemy. So I think we knew that going in. We sort of warned people, and obviously, the majority of Americans did not agree. Or the majority of voters, I should say, not Americans, did not agree. We have been very deliberate in not endorsing candidates. We give coverage to everybody. For instance, we just did a Ward 2 forum where we spelled out everything, because that's one of the surprisingly more competitive general elections.
It has been, yes.
Yes. And so we do coverage, but we generally don't do endorsements. But I think we just looked at President Trump and saw him as such and not, norms and values and all this like BS that I think a lot of people do, but we saw it as like, this is a clear threat. This is a person with autocratic tendencies. And when you have somebody like that who is so thin-skinned and has autocratic tendencies, that is not good for the people on the ground, because the minute that the people rise up or they say they want something different, then you've got, tear gassing people in Lafayette Square. I think we saw that, and we've been very deliberate about endorsing in very rare instances. And I think this is one of those rare instances.
Of course. And to round out this, little powwow with you, what does the post-election coverage look like? Give us a sneak peek of what the post-election coverage may look like, depending on who takes, whomever is the winner.
I think it's going to depend largely on what we know come, say, 3:00 in the morning, tomorrow morning. And there's going to be, Florida's going to have most of its vote in, right? So, but that's not necessarily going to tell us anything. North Carolina is going to have, I think, 97% of its vote in, but some of these other states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, they're going to take a while, because those are, particularly Arizona. I mean, Arizona's always been a vote by mail state. It's a slow count. I think everybody in those states is a little more used to it. Pennsylvania, they're not used to it, but it is, the laws are what they are. So it's going to be slow count. It's going to be county by county. It's going to be waiting for military ballots before you get data. And so I think we're going to look at, if, for instance, if Biden wins Florida and North Carolina, that effectively shuts off the route. We're going to know who's winning. But if it's not that way, if it's, those go to Trump or they're a split decision, then we get into, okay, to what level are we getting, how high are you getting, how close are you getting to 270? And a lot of it's going to be, we're probably actually ironically going to know some of the down ticket races before we know the presidential race, I think, because some of these down ticket races where there's only a limited number of voters in, say, Delaware's state Senate, where Sarah McBride is running, right? Like, we'll probably get a better indicator of her as a first transgender person to run for a state Senate seat in the entire nation before we get a Biden versus Trump result.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thanks so much, John, for joining me today, and we eagerly look forward to keeping up with the coverage from Metro Weekly, whichever way this election turns out. Now, we also have Cathy here from the National LGBTQ Task Force, and right before I chat with Cathy, I just want to give the correspondents one last final word, and then we can say goodbye to them, and then Cathy and I can chat. So I'll start with RaeMonet. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say that I am so thankful to Blade, to Team Rayceen, to all of the volunteers for all of these elections, all of our correspondents. I mean, everyone coming together in this way is exactly what America is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about us working together for a common goal. And it's lovely when we see things like this actually come to fruition. I, for one, have been very happy with this system and with, I didn't have to rearrange things to go vote. You know what I mean? I was able to take my time, really think through all of my decisions and make the choices that I was comfortable with. And I think that that's the same feeling that everyone else is feeling today. And I think that's why so many people are so happy. It's not just because the sun is shining. So thank you, everyone, for getting your vote out and getting yourself heard. It is so important, and make sure you do it every single time.
Thank you, RaeMonet. Have a wonderful one. Bria, let's go to you next.
All right, I just want to say thank you for having me. Everybody, go out and vote if you already haven't. It has been the easiest. It's been the easiest setup in my short life. I've only voted 3 times, and this is the 3rd time, and they have made it so convenient and accessible for everyone out there. Don't worry about lines. DC doesn't seem to really have any lines, but they have plenty of free food and resources for you. There's also COVID-19 testing at some of these sites, like there is one where I am. So also protect yourself, get out there and vote. Whether you do paper ballot or electronic, make sure you're protecting yourself. It's still a pandemic, and, be healthy.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Bria. Jasmine and Matt, let's go over to you.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Team Rayceen, as always, for having us. We love talking with you guys. And I just want to say, whatever the results are, the work does not stop. We have to continue working. There's elections to pay attention to every year. Those local elections, we can't let those pass us by. So let's make sure we keep this energy, keep that same energy after today, and we keep putting in the work.
Yeah,
beautiful, beautiful.
It's hard to go after her, but I got to thank the whole Team Rayceen team. There's a lot of organizations and individuals who talk about the kind of change that we want, but don't actually connect it and make it accessible for people to understand that it has to come down to voting. So thank you guys for centralizing it, being here today. Let's go, folks. If you haven't voted yet, don't think your vote can't make a difference. Virginia in 2017. Democrats barely lost winning the House of Delegates by 0 votes. They picked out of a fishbowl and gave, and it ended up in Republican hands. 1 vote can make a difference.
Important words to remember. Natalie, let's finish it off with you.
Hi. Listen, I'm not going to repeat what everybody said. It was brilliant. Everybody knows we need to vote. But I want everyone to do some self-care and self-love. It's going to be super important moving forward, regardless of what the results are. People are going to have some feelings, and we need to be able to protect ourselves, and we need to be able to do what we need to do for ourselves. If we're not taking care of our health and our well-being, then nothing else really truly matters. So do all of your civic duty, but also please, please, please take care of yourselves. And if watching the news is too much, you don't have to tune in. Just be with self today. And be with people that you love. And cheers, because I'm definitely going to, live my best life today. And I appreciate you all. Thank you, Team Rayceen. I love you all. And remember, Black lives still matter. Our votes matter. do what you need to do.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Natalie. And thank you to all our correspondents that joined us today. Thank you, John, for joining today. It has been such a pleasure. And let's see how this election turns out. Thank you so much. Now, Cathy, let us chat from the National LGBTQ Task Force. Now, one of the first things I want to talk to you about, Cathy, one of the first things I want to know is, what is at stake? What is at stake for the LGBTQ community when it comes to this election?
You know, I've been asked that question by a lot of journalists, and my answer is a one-word answer, and that's everything. If you look at what's happened over the last nearly 4 years under the Trump administration, we saw, you know, not only a removal of so much of the progress that we made under the Obama administrations, but also increased rollbacks, you know, more executive orders, more discrimination institutionalized in places like the Department of Education, Housing and Urban Development, you know, and other areas of our government. And, you know, the big picture here is that, you know, he has sowed such division and hate across the board, whether you're talking about LGBTQ people, people of color, immigrants, you know, anyone who you know, doesn't look like him. And I think what that's created is a climate where we are seeing more hate crimes. I mean, today I was reading about a woman named Angel Unique in Memphis. She's the 34th trans person killed this year.
Wow.
Mostly women of color. You know, this is an epidemic. And I think that it's in part because of the climate that we have in this country. And that's why we really so badly need this change.
Yes.
And a shift towards, you know, if not being more united, being at least more civil.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And, you know, you're up in New Jersey right now, correct?
I am. I voted by mail, so I'm home today working.
So, wonderful.
Who knows when we'll find out, you know, the results of these things, as John was saying. But,
yes. I mean,
I'm
honestly,
yep.
What's the energy been like in New Jersey over this, you know, election season since early voting started, you know, leading up to today? What has that energy been like? How is it feeling? And, you know, let me in. Where do you think it will, you know, where do you think New Jersey will lean?
Well, you know, it's interesting because New Jersey is one of those states that has, you know, pockets of very progressive areas. I live in Montclair, which is very progressive. And there are also pockets that are much more conservative and lean more Republican down the shore, down the southern part of the state, Monmouth County, et cetera. And so, you know, you see a lot of, it's kind of like California. You see a lot of diversity within the state. But what I think Natalie was saying and some of the correspondents were saying and what John was saying is true. What this has been about enthusiasm and engagement. And the task force in doing the Queer the Vote campaign, I mean, the goal was to really energize folks in our community to get out there and vote safely in whatever way they were able to. And we're seeing the results of that. You know, I mean, it's really extraordinary. When you were talking about 2016, you know, part of the issue was, I think, you know, things that we sometimes have a little trouble talking about. Sexism played a role in Hillary not being elected. You know, she did win the popular vote and lost the electoral vote. So there's a whole conversation to be had about the Electoral College.
There is.
Right, exactly. And so there is so much enthusiasm. I went out to run an errand, you know, and get some fresh air, probably for the only time today. And I saw a young man standing on the corner of one of our main streets here downtown, just all by himself, and he had a big sign and it just said vote. Vote. Didn't say Biden Harris, didn't say Trump, it just said vote. And I think that really kind of sums it up. You know, participate, because here's the thing about all of these things we're hearing about: voter disenfranchisement, voter intimidation, you know, these Trump caravans that are, you know, blocking up the New Jersey Turnpike and, you know, trying to run over a Biden bus off the road in Texas. They know how powerful the vote is, not just because it's a vote, it's the beginning of a journey for people. Yes, you know, once you vote and you get engaged, you get more informed. You start looking at all the races, not just the, you know, the every 4-year presidential race. You're looking at the down ballot races. You're looking at your local, you know, your state attorney general. You're looking at your local city council. You may get more engaged in politics. You may get more engaged in your community. So this is about really a fear of power in the changing demographics of our country. And it's why I can't wait to see what the results are in Texas. You know, I think there's a tremendous amount of hope that it will go blue. But it's right now, for even without any information, we know it's pretty purple.
Yeah,
and and it's heading from purple to blue. And that is a demonstration of more engagement. It's also a demonstration of the changing demographics of this country. And how we need to, as a country, grapple with that and figure out how to, you know, coexist and learn from each other, and you know, not see this horrifying, heartbreaking division that there are unfortunately large groups of people that want to propagate that want to perpetuate that.
Of course there are. Of course there are. Well, we are coming down to the end of this day. The polls close 7 in some places, 8 in some places. We're coming down to the evening. Give us a last word to end this special on. You know, anything that you want to end with. Give us your final thoughts.
Well, you know, again, as folks have said, I hope no matter what happens, and I think, you know, we all know what we kind of want to have happen, right? I think what we need to really, the word that I would use is resilience, because it's not just that this is an incredibly important election, the most important election of our lifetimes. It's happening in the midst of a global pandemic, and one that has frankly been completely mishandled by the current administration in this country. Our relatives in Europe who are looking at us like, you're kidding, you know, how you're handling this. We're in the middle of an economic recession that is destabilizing so many people. You know, and we're in the midst of trying to deal with and reckon with racial justice in a way that we have not in this country in a very long time. And I think
that's true.
You know, the queer community has been particularly, you know, thoughtful and sensitive, because our community is so diverse in and of itself. And, you know, I've got out in the streets for Black Lives Matter protests, and I have for years, but we were out there, you know, in times when we knew it wasn't, you know, as safe. We had to wear masks. We were all really careful, but we knew how important it was. And I think that's what I'm seeing, is that resilience and that courage. And at the end of the day, what that will give us is hope.
Of course. And thank you so much, Cathy, and thank you for the work that you do with the National LGBTQ Task Force. I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and hopefully we are able to smile in the morning or at the end of the week, however long it takes. Thank you so much, Cathy. You have a fabulous day now. Thank you.
Thanks for your work as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Before we go, I would like to let our viewers know that you can catch Rayceen and myself at the season finale of the Ask Rayceen show tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. The live stream, that's when it begins, 7 p.m. Eastern. And we will have performances by Songbird, Nia Simmons, as well as the Ask Rayceen show 2020 Poet Laureate, Rayceen Pendarvis. So make sure that you are prepared for the season finale of the Ask Rayceen show. We've been on hiatus for so long, so of course it is so great for us to get back in the saddle at the Ask Rayceen show. And speaking of intruding teas, come to Tantalizing Tuesday. Make sure that you are here for Tantalizing Tuesday right here on this YouTube channel, November 17th at 11 p.m. Eastern. Join us. Rayceen and I will be here getting titillating and tantalizing before midnight. So join us here. We also would like everyone to subscribe to the Team Rayceen YouTube channel. If you are here right now watching, go ahead and subscribe. We have so many videos with interviews, with vlogs, with forums, with specials, with so many things. So if you have not yet subscribed, go ahead, like, share, comment, and subscribe to the Team Rayceen YouTube channel while you are here. And if you want to follow Rayceen Pendarvis, you can do that at RayceenHRH on Twitter and Rayceen Pendarvis on Instagram. For more information about Rayceen, you can find that at rayceen.com. Now, if you want to follow me, you can do that at It's Krylios on Twitter and at It's Krylios on Instagram. And we want to thank our production sponsor, AHF Pharmacy. Thank you, AHF Pharmacy, because without you, we at Team Rayceen could not do the work we do. So huge thanks to our production sponsor, AHF Pharmacy. Thank you all for joining us for the Team Rayceen Election Day special. To keep up with what Team Rayceen is doing, you can follow us at Team Rayceen on Twitter, Team Rayceen on Instagram, and Team Rayceen on Facebook. You can also go to our Eventbrite page to see what the latest is. If you need anything else, links are in the description below. Have a fabulous day. Bye, everyone.